Dangerous Animals is about a madman who kidnaps tourists and feeds them to sharks off the coast of Australia. This one was getting a little buzz when it was released in the summer, but surely that's a mistake, right? There's no way that Jai Courtney's in a good movie. Or is he? Welcome everyone to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tim.
Crikey, good day, Vegemite.
Vegemite, that's what you threw in there at the end. Very good. So welcome to the show. It's a horror movie podcast, and we're here today to talk about Dangerous Animals, a movie that came out, I think, towards the start of the summer. That said, though, well, it feels like we're really late doing this in November. It is getting warmer in Australia, where this movie's set.
Ooh,
so
there you go.
You know, we're kind of in a good place. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so
we're not idiots.
Of course not. Never. Who said that, Tim?
Everyone.
You tell me who said that. You point them out to me, right? And I'll take care of it.
The entire website known as Reddit.
No one's talking about us on Reddit. We talk about.
I started a thread.
All right, so yes, we will start spoiler free, of course, as we always do. We'll give you a warning before we get into the spoilers, and if you're enjoying the show on YouTube, please do hit the like button. It helps out a bunch if you do, and you can rate us on your podcast at 5 stars, and you can support the show and all the other stuff that we make here over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV or by YouTube membership, and get some bonus episodes and even more stream segments and some other stuff, but I'll tell you more about that at the end of the episode. So yes, Dangerous Animals is kind of a shark movie, but it's not like the sharks aren't the villains really. The sharks are just the murder weapon. The villain is a serial killer. It's a villain played by Jai Courtney. Now, I have to admit, when you say Jai Courtney to me, I get PTSD. I get like Nam flashbacks, because when they were trying to shove Jai Courtney down our throats in the mid-2010s, he was in back-to-back Die Hard 5 and Terminator Genisys, and those two movies are some of the worst pieces of shit I have ever seen in my life, especially in the cinema. So, you know, not a fan of them, I have to say.
It's funny, I could not like pick him out of a lineup, but I'm familiar with what you're talking about, because I heard people saying similar things like on podcasts and on the internet, saying like, oh, like enough of this guy or whatever. And I'm sure I've seen stuff with him in it, but it just never really like stood out to me, I guess. So I know the name, but I don't really, I'm not too familiar with what he looks like. So I didn't even know that was him in the movie. I think he was in Suicide Squad, right? That's probably the only thing I would have seen him in.
Possibly. And people seem to kind of like it. Like, people said he was the best part of that movie. Maybe the trick is letting him have his Australian accent. Maybe that's the ticket.
Sure.
Now, to be fair, he was in really terrible movies, right? Terminator Genisys and Die Hard 5 are absolute trash, regardless of him. Yeah. However, they were trying to push him as like the new leading man. Like, he's the Kyle Reese now. He's going to be the one that Bruce Willis passes the torch to carry on Die Hard. Obviously, that never happened because the movie was terrible and no one liked it and it tanked and all the rest of it. But they were really trying for like a couple of years to really make him a thing. Well, we went on such a long tangent there that I cut it out and called that an even more stream segment. So to get into the movie, into the water, as it were. Premise, which I didn't really go into too much yet, is Jai Courtney owns a boat. He does like, hey, I'll do a shark cage like for tourists kind of thing. Like, he puts people in the water in a cage so they can swim with the sharks, and that's kind of it. But he also is a killer and likes to feed people to sharks, and that's going to be the gist of what's going on here. So we'll get into everything else and spoilers and whatnot, but we'll kick it off simply. Tim, what did you think of Dangerous Animals?
So I was really looking forward to this one. I'm not sure if I'd even seen a trailer or anything, but I knew some people that saw it had good things to say. And I really like the premise. I mean, I don't know, I'm sure it's probably come up in the show before, but I'm a big shark guy. I love sharks in general. I like the water and aquatic horror, and Jaws is like one of my favorite movies of all time. That was like the one good shark movie they made in the 70s. And then it took them like about 20-ish years until they could make like another good shark movie.
Well, hold on. You got to answer that. What was the next good shark movie?
Well, Deep Blue Sea, of course.
Of course. That's what I was looking for. You may proceed.
So I mean, I love sharks. I always get excited, when they announce like a new shark movie, but I feel like 95% of the time they're not that great. Every now and again you get one that's like, well, that's okay, but it's whatever. So I was going into this one with like, pretty high hopes, and I would say they were met. I had a pretty decent amount of fun with this one. I don't think it's like a particularly deep movie, which I guess that's kind of a water pun, but it's it kind of just is what it is. Like all right, serial killer that uses sharks, that's what you're promising me, and hey, they actually delivered on it. I think the actors are fine. I think it's shot well enough. I'm not trying to like damn it with faint praise or whatever. But I think it's like all, it's very fun, watchable movie. It maybe doesn't like go above that into like, oh my God, like they really outdid themselves or like, or whatever. But yeah, if you hear the premise and you think like, oh, that sounds pretty fun, like I feel like it delivers on that.
Yeah, just before I answer, just because you brought up Jaws and Deep Blue Sea, the thought occurred to me that it's been longer since Deep Blue Sea now than the gap between Jaws and Deep Blue Sea, just to make you feel old.
Wow.
Tim.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Deep Blue Sea is now 27 years old.
Jeez Louise. Where does the time go?
Or is it maybe 26? Was it 98 or 99? Either way, my fact was still correct. Anyway, yeah, I like the movie. I thought it was good. I think it's a pretty good movie, even. I don't know if it actually crosses the line into being great, but I think it does a decent job of making me like the main character, the protagonist, and making me want to root for her. Gives her an arc, which is something not all horror movie gets. All horror movie like protagonists get. Sometimes you don't get that, but here there is an arc. There is growth from the start to the end of the movie. Jai Courtney, as much as it's weird to say it, is actually pretty good in this role. Maybe he just needed to play an Australian creep. Yes, Tucker is his name. So that was good. And there's a lot of nice. It feels like it's got a lot of money behind it because there's a lot of shots out in the water. There's a lot of like swimming and in the in the water and the sharks swimming around. However they did these shots, it looks pretty good. It's hard to really complain all that much. Maybe I would have liked another couple of kills because it's a very, very limited number all in. But I mean, I get it. I get why it didn't fit in with more kills. But just like have, I don't know, a little boat that comes up at one point with an extra couple of people who are looking for something, and he's like, "Oh, come on aboard then." So anyway, I do think when there is a kill though, or there is violence, is visceral. I actually quite liked how they portrayed those moments. It felt quite nasty. Like not like showy and overly like it's not like this is not Art the Clown trying to make a big song and dance about it. It's a lot more kind of quick, but it feels violent when he does it. So I appreciated that as well.
Okay, but Art the Shark could be a pretty cool character.
Art the Shark. Is that the remake? Because others keep saying Terrifier 4 is going to be the last one. What if he resurrects as a shark?
I mean, I'm here for it. That's good.
I don't know how the shark even acts differently so that we know that it's art in there, but somehow I believe Damien Leone will find a way. So this movie's directed by the same guy who did The Loved Ones, which we've never talked about on the show.
Okay, I've seen that one. That's like the Australian one where like the girl kidnaps the guy. She's like it's like night of the prom and she kidnaps like the guy that she likes. I remember it's been a long time since I watched it. I probably suck because I mean like this director Sean Byrne made that in 2009, and then he did Devil's Candy in 2015, which we did review actually way back in the early days of the show. And then he's done Dangerous Animals, so they're pretty spread out. I don't know if it's like it's a hard to get funding for a movie in Australia, so it's taken him a long time for each one. But it's just interesting to see. Oh, I've actually seen two of this guy's movies before, so Oh yeah, that is interesting. I didn't realize that was the same guy, and I would say, again, it's been a while since I've seen The Devil's Candy, but I kind of remember liking that one. Like those all kind of seem to me like stuff that it's like, oh yeah, like this is at least watchable or whatever. Like
yes, they're solid. I mean, yeah. I remember liking Loved Ones more than Devil's Candy, but again, it's been a while since I've seen either of them, so take that with grain of salt. But if I was to put money on which one I like more, I think I like Loved Ones more. But I almost said Levels Candy. I almost combined the two words.
Yeah. So he might be a director where it's like he's doing a new movie. I might not be like, oh yeah, I can't wait for it, but it'd be like, oh cool, yeah, I'll check that out.
Yeah, it'll probably be fine. It'll probably be at least solid, if not even verging into good. And I might even say this is his best movie. But again, based on my memories of those other two, I think this one feels pretty nice. It was well paced as well. It's about an hour 35 or so. Went in nice and smooth.
Yeah, that was one thing I was like maybe a little worried about because obviously you can't just have like a shark killing people like every 5 minutes or whatever. But I think you kind of mentioned earlier, like, the characters are likable enough and stuff that it kept me interested throughout. Like it never really felt dull or anything at any point.
Yeah, no, I think they did a good job with the main character of Zephyr. I think she's got that final girl or that smart final girl thing where she's proactive. She tries to think of her way out of things. She has a couple of moments where she chooses to do something heroic for someone else. It does things with her that make you want to root for her because, like, hey, she's kind of flawed. She has like an arc to like have. She has some of her own issues to get over, but it seems like she's doing very likable things at points. So, I'm not saying it's like the most deep character writing ever, but I think for a horror movie like this, I think it's perfectly a solid amount for it. Like I was into the characters. I was into. Maybe not as much so with Moses, the male sort of like lead that we have, but I thought he was fine as well. There was nothing wrong with him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe if there's like any small complaint I have, it's like maybe sometimes things would happen that I'd be like, well, that's like a little convenient or whatever. But again, with this type of movie, I'm not really like trying to be like too nitpicky. Or,
okay. I've got a feeling one of the things you might be, we can talk about this without context, but I believe, I'm willing to believe this thing exists, even though I've never heard of it in my life. I believe it's probably a real thing, which is the idea that there's like cameras pointed at the beach for wave, or for surfers, I should say, to watch, like see what the waves are like at any point, because he pulls up an app called Wave Watch. The idea though that he can scrub through like 2 days of this footage as if it's all there to look through is a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're streaming on YouTube, you can rewind at any point like a DVR, but presumably these cameras in this stream are running 24/7 all the time. So I don't know. Like, are they keeping like? Can you go back to like June from last year and like check what happened at 3 a.m. at the beach?
Yeah.
I don't know, but but I mean, it's not really a complaint so much as it's just me. I had a bit of a chuckle and went, yeah, all right, movie, I'll roll with it. Maybe you can go back as far as a week and then it scrubs or whatever. I don't know, but hey.
Yeah, no, again, it's a very minor quibble. Like, if it was a worse movie, maybe stuff like that would stand out more, and I'd be like, oh, come on. But again, since the movie is moving and it's keeping us interested and we want to find out what happens to the characters, like, you can kind of just roll along with it.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I mean, other than that, like, I think the performances from both Hassie Harrison, that's her name here, who plays Zephyr, I think is solid. Jai Courtney surprisingly good as this enthusiastic, Australian like skipper who likes to kill people. He's got a little bit of a sense of humor. It's not quite like an Art the Clown by any means, but it's a bit more in the normal realm of sense of humor. But he does have one.
It does feel like a very like Australian version like of a serial killer.
Oh yes. It's so funny though, because for Extra Reels last month or the month before, we did a movie called Psycho Shark, right? Which it's funny how much overlap in premise this kind of has with it. That said though, that movie has almost nothing happen for almost entirely of its 69 minutes of runtime. Don't go to it thinking you're going to get cool shark stuff. You're not. Don't go thinking it's going to be funny. It's not. It's a tedious time. I highly recommend never watching the damn thing. But there is at least the idea that someone's luring people out so they can feed them to a shark. That's at least somewhat in there. So I had a bit of a chuckle that I was like, oh, I'm watching a good version of Psycho Shark right now. That's kind of weird.
Yeah. And it is always kind of interesting to like compare stuff like that, because it's yeah, you know, you can have the exact same premise, but you know, in two very different hands, like two very different skilled filmmakers. You know, one can just be complete shit, and then the other can be something actually really good.
Yeah, for the record, I don't think the director of Psycho Shark was skilled in any way. Just to be clear.
Right.
Like, this is bottom of the barrel, 1 out of 10. You find it in the trenches of Tubi kind of thing. So, which is where I watched it, because of course. And yeah, the setting of the movie is obviously good. I mean, it's not entirely on a boat, but a lot of it is. A lot of it is about being trapped on a boat with a killer. So there's, you know, it's a good sense of isolation. It's like a big part of it's the problem solving of like, okay, even if I can get out of my restraints, how do I call for help? How do I flag someone down? How, you know, is anyone coming looking for me? It seems like he targets people who are tourists or on their own, so that there isn't that many people coming looking for them. So there's, you know, it plays into all that. I like that it's thinking about all these things and keeping the characters thinking about these things as well. So,
and it does a good job of like, you know, finding interest, like, you know, ways to kind of keep things feeling fresh. Like, it's not just the same cycle of like, he captures someone, feeds them to the shark, and then captures another person, feeds them to the shark. It's like, yeah, you're following this one character, and yeah, like they, you know, find interesting ways to, you know, like have her fight back, even though, you know, she's mostly constrained a lot of the time. But yeah, she, like, they already set up that, like, you know, she's very resourceful, she's a fighter, and like, so it's believable when, you know, she's doing like a lot of this stuff. And yeah, it always keeps it interesting, which I guess is probably one of the bigger, you know, selling points of the movie. Is it's like there's never any point where it's just like, yeah, I felt like checking my phone or something. I'm like, okay, I want to see what happens next, or like, oh, okay, that was a smart thing that she just did there, or like, oh, okay, that, you know, she found like a new wrinkle or something that she can use against him or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if I was to boil this movie down to the two reasons why it works as well as it does, I think one is a good handling of the main character, because you can root for her because they do put some thought into what her character arc is, and she never betrays that, and it always feels like she's capable and she's trying to think of her way out of situations, so it never feels like she does something dumb in that sense. And then the other part is just that the actual threat itself is quite good. That being Jai Courtney, and how, you know, how he's got people in an isolated location on the boat. He can quickly stab someone. Like, these things won't make him effective. And those two things won't make the movie good. There's some other good things as well. Like, you know, there's some nice visuals and whatnot. But those are the two main ingredients that are making the whole thing work. So, there you go. So I think we'll have to go to spoilers before we can say anything else really about what happens in it. But it's pretty good. I would recommend it. It's a solid time. I don't think you're going to come out of it thinking it's the best movie of the year, or even the best horror movie of the year, but I think you will be relatively entertained, especially if you like anything about the premise. I think you'll be having a good time. So, yeah. All right. Well, we'll say spoilers, and we'll dive in to Dangerous Animals. So, the movie opens with a couple. Well, they say they're not a couple, but it's also implied that they did spend the night together, and that's why they slept in and didn't go with their friends to Deep Sea World. But they're relative strangers in that, you know, the girl's English and the guy's American, and they are basically like, oh, well, we can't go to Deep Sea World, so we'll come to this boat that does the shark cage thing and see if we can get on that for the day. And we spend some time in this prologue building up where Jai Courtney comes up. He's very friendly. He, you know, make some jokes here or there. You know, one maybe the biggest thing you'll probably remember is when he's like saying, hey, okay, before I put you in the cage and put you down, we have to have there's a little sort of like tradition I do, a little prayer that we do. And he starts singing the Baby Shark song. So it's like, okay, he's got a sense of humor, and they do this whole thing where it's like, hey, they go in the cage and it's tranquil and it's beautiful. The girl's scared at first, but she's in awe of the sharks swimming around her, and it's a really nice thing. But as soon as he brings them back up, and he pulls them both up onto the boat. Because I was thinking, because he pulls her up first, and I thought, he's going to not pull him up. He's going to push him back or something. Instead, he pulls him up, And then just out of nowhere, he just pulls out a little knife and just like, jabs him in the neck, like really quick, just like a jab, and just kicks him out of the water. She starts screaming, and then title screen. And credit to them, this is a good 10 minutes out of the movie. Like, they spend time, sailing out to wherever they're going. He's telling stories about how he got bit with a shark when he was younger and stuff like that. There's a good build up of him playing the nice guy until he turns. And the way he does it so nonchalantly, I think, is maybe the biggest selling point early on of like, oh, he feels quite dangerous now because he just did that without even hinting that he was, there wasn't like a dark look or like, oh, I've shifted into serial killer mode now or anything like that. It's just, no, this is just what he does. Doesn't even think about it.
Yeah, it's very quick and he's very like nonchalant about it, which just makes it feel like very visceral and surprising. So it's super effective. I will say, when they go into the cage and they're watching all the sharks, I did, look over at my wife and said, I would do that. And she gave me a crazy look like, are you insane? But I don't know. I feel like as long as you're in a cage, like that's pretty safe, But I don't know. My wife was like, immediately she's like, well, I've seen videos where like the sharks like just like ram into the cage and stuff. I'm like, well, all right. I don't know. I think I could probably still do it though.
Pardon me. I think the thought I had in my head though, as beautiful as it was, and it was nice seeing them be like all in awe of the sharks, I thought, would there really be this many types of sharks swimming around them this closely at the same time? It feels like they'd be more spread out, but I mean that's just a minor thing. They do acknowledge in this movie though, Courtney does say he admits that sharks don't really like eating humans, and if they do it, it's like a case of mistaken identity. And he basically says he has to trick them by throwing in more chum and like making sure it feels like there's food coming, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I do like here, it's mostly Mako, at least in this opening scene. I think he says that they're Mako sharks. Which, it's nice to just kind of mix it up. But I forget if later on in the movie, if they say that there are other types of sharks. I'm assuming the one at the end is like a great white, right?
Yeah, that's
so big.
Yeah, that's a great white because it scares all the other sharks away because it's the big scary one. So yeah.
Then I forget. Other than that, though, I forget if they mentioned if there's any other type of sharks or if it's mostly them.
He might have said another one at one point. I really can't remember, but I feel like I saw more than one kind in that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was just a bunch of Mako sharks all swimming together, which makes sense because they're well. Do they swim together? Because he does make a point of saying that sharks are solitary creatures, but I mean maybe depends on the species.
Yeah, I'm not an expert. I would assume that there's... I feel like you see a lot, like, swimming together at times, so there's probably some that maybe have, like, packs or something, I would assume, but... Yeah, because
I was bringing up the whole admitting that sharks don't like humans thing, because some movies obviously just ignore that, and maybe it wasn't even known that widely at a certain point, which is why it's not mentioned in other things. Or it's like Deep Blue Sea, and it's like, no, they're not eating for food. They're being tactical because they're smart sharks.
Yeah,
they're being tactical sharks. But yeah.
Well, I do like that this movie is like, very clearly going out of its way to say like, sharks are not the bad guys here. Like this
never.
Guy.
Yeah, this is very much. This is not a one-to-one comparison, but it's very much Burke and Aliens. The xenomorphs are just doing what they do naturally. They're not being evil inherently. Burke's being evil. Same thing here, kinda. Where the sharks aren't being evil. If they're eating you, it's because they're doing what's natural to them. It's this boomerang here that's causing all the trouble. That was a reference to his Suicide Squad character, everyone, just in case you thought I was making some sort of generic Australian racism joke.
Yeah. Yeah, in that first Suicide Squad movie, King Shark wasn't in that one.
No, he was in the good one. He was in the James Gunn one.
Okay. All right, because I was trying to say, like, another, him reunited with maybe that Suicide Squad ignited his love of sharks or something, but he was in the new one, right? For like just the opening, was it?
He's in the newer one, but he never shares a scene with King Shark. So
okay.
I'm sorry to say that your theory wasn't holding anyway, and he dies, of course, before because the baller move that they did with that Suicide Squad, the second one that was like just it was this Suicide Squad. That's the say. I always forget which one's named which because they're stupid naming titles. But is that they brought one character back that they could just kill off immediately to sell the premise of it being the Suicide Squad. But anyway, they also there's rules to the shark here. Like apparently, sharks are like the T-Rex in Jurassic Park if you stay still. Which. I don't know how true that is, but it does make some logic to me that if you're not kicking about in the water and making waves, that the sharks might not pay attention to you because you're just still. You're just like a log floating there.
Yeah, I think especially like I've heard like a lot of times with shark attacks, like there'll be people they're swimming like on a surfboard or something, and like from below to like a shark that might look like a seal or something. So. If you're just dangling just your legs in the water, like, I don't know if that really looks like anything, to it. I mean, maybe, if you combine it with, like, the thrashing around and having blood or chum in the water, like, that's probably what's bringing it to them. But, yeah, like, if you're, you calm yourself and, like, are really still or try to, like, pull your legs up, like, there's probably some stuff you could do to at least better your odds,
Yeah. I mean, that definitely worked, but it at least tells me the idea. I mean, it sets it up early in the movie, then she obviously uses it to great effect later on in the film. But so anyway, so we had this prologue, solidly done, and then we sort of introduce our main character, who's a surfer. She's in Australia. She's American, but she's a bit of a loner. She's a lone wolf. She pulls. Like, money's tight because all she eats is rolls, bread rolls. I just call them rolls here, but, whatever your name is. Some people call them baps, some people call them buns, some people call them bread cakes. Whatever your term is for these. What's your term, Tim, out of curiosity?
Just rolls as well.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Some of those I've heard before. Some of them I'm like, what are you talking about? Like baps or...
And those are all different ones in the UK. Like if you go like just 10 miles in any direction in the UK, you'll find a new word for a roll. It's just one of those things for some reason.
Okay.
But she's buying stacks of them, and she has a slushie that I think she pays for here that she got from the store. But the reveal when she gets outside is that she hid a tub of Ben and Jerry's inside the slushie so she didn't have to pay for it because money's so tight. And I'm like, you just pulled off a Ben and Jerry's heist. Like how? Like, I guess if the self-serve machine's like there for you to fill up your cup, I mean, what's to stop you from hiding something in the slushie? Like,
I never thought of it before. It's like, sure, why not?
I mean, I guess the thing is, there's nothing that expensive in a store like this that you would feel the need to steal,
Yeah, like, even if it's something like, like if you're doing like a bag of chips or something like that, like, I know everything is like in the packaging, but I still feel the compulsion to need to like, rinse it off and clean it. And it's just like too much work for something that's probably just like, a couple of bucks or whatever.
I love that they went to the effort of not just having a generic tub of ice cream. They were like, no, this is Ben and Jerry's she's pulling out of this thing. This is important. So a little bit of reveal. So there's our ingenuity, if you will, which might be a factor in her character. And then the other character here that we introduced is Moses, who was in the store trying to ask the cashier if he had jumper cables because his car's, he's walked all the way here from somewhere where his car broke down and he needs a jump start. And outside, he catches her doing this with the ice cream, and he's like, hey, can you please drive me back to my car and give me a jump with your van? Because she has this big van that she drives around. It's a really beat up old piece of shit looking thing. And he's like, hey, I could go tell him about the slushie and the ice cream here. And she's like, you're blackmailing me? So this is kind of her meet cute where they awkwardly sit in the van as she drives him to his car, and he tries to make small talk and she just shoots him down like every single time he tries to say anything, pretty much.
I can't really blame her. I would say like he grew on me throughout the movie, but I really did not like this character like in this setup. Like he was just like a little too annoying and persistent to me, and I was kind of waiting for there to be like some type of shoe to drop where it's just like, oh, he's like an annoying guy that she's gonna brush off or whatever. But I mean, like after they get the car jumped and they start talking about music and stuff, like I did find like that conversation to be a little like, I don't know, this sounds like a little bit too much like the kind of conversation you would hear in a movie where someone like has that like, you know, obscure pop culture thing with the like, oh no, like, you know, this is actually like, you know, because they're talking about like some song and she's like, oh, that one's lame, and he's like, no, like here's why it's actually really good. And it's like, I don't know, it's one of those things that kind of just maybe feels like a little too written, you know what I mean?
Like in Wish Upon, when the kid starts talking about multiverses.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
I knew that'd pop you, Tim.
Yeah. But I mean, again, like, you know, these are very minor complaints. Like, I'm not saying that like this turned me off or whatever. It's just one of those things that kind of like maybe feels a bit more surface levelly, you know. But I whatever. I grew to like him though. Like after, like once I kind of get past that and they spend the night together, actually like, all right, he actually seems like a pretty decent guy, and they're kind of a good fit together.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me with the just chime in on the music talk critique you had there, is that I kind of see what you're saying. I think it's okay though for two reasons. One, it's the only time it happens, so it's like a one and done thing. It's not like they're constantly bringing up things like like some Kevin Smith movie or something.
Yeah.
But also, I think it's fine because it does directly kind of like, it gets referenced again later on, so they kind of set something up so they can pull it back later. But I kind of get what you're saying, like, this idea of like, oh, this is the real beauty of this song. But at the very least here, it relates to her character, right? Because the whole idea of a character is that she's this loner who doesn't connect with people. And even when they had it off here a little bit and it cuts to them having sex in the back of her van, which ironically is outside his house and his driveway. And he's like, hey, if you want to come in, I could give you some real food. Like, you don't have to keep eating bread rolls. I'll give you like actual sustenance. And she's like, nope, I'm good. And when he goes in to make her pancakes, she drives off and she leaves. And they have a little bit of a heart to heart after they've had sex and whatnot. But it sets up that she is this loner who doesn't want to make connections. She thinks she's better on her own. And you know, later on that's compared to a shark, and obviously the wake-up call for her in a lot of ways is one, thinking that she has no one to come and help her when she gets kidnapped, but two, the only person in this movie that kind of agrees with her that it's better to be alone is the serial killer. So that maybe makes her go, maybe I should re-examine my life philosophy a little bit here. Maybe I should think about it a touch.
I'll tell you like what really sold it for me. Like their relationship, I think was getting better as it goes on. But the part I really like is when she leaves and she's going out to surf, and they text back and forth a little bit, and then you know he's like, "Can I join you?" And then she types out like, "I'd love that," and then like pauses, erases it, and she says like, "Oh, like." Yeah, it's a free ocean. But that was like I think some of the stuff before then maybe felt a wee bit more generic to me, but that to me was like, oh, this is a really good bit of like character development where you're really seeing like she wants to open up more, but she's kind of not letting herself. And I just thought that was really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the main thing for me, is that like their relationship as far as chemistry goes is just fine. It's okay. But what it really does is that it's her character development that makes it work, because it's all about her, like, one, having that good moment where she sort of like wants to sound enthusiastic and wants to connect, but then kind of like, no, I have to put up a bit of a wall and be kind of cold about it and say, well, it's a free ocean, I don't care if you show up, loser. Like, you know, she sort of changes her tone, but it's that further idea that when she gets kidnapped and like the other victim who's still alive from the prologue says, hey, is anyone looking for you? And she's like, no, there's no one. But we see that we cut to him and he is looking for her. He's concerned about her. He's showing, and it's this idea of like what that means for her character, that someone is looking for her and someone cares, matters a bit more than the actual relationship they kind of tried to give them at the start. It was more about kind of what they're going to do with it now that it started. And would it elevate it a bit if like the meet cute was like amazing and it was like, oh, I completely buy into this relationship? Sure, but I think it's fine, just because like there's nothing wrong with it, and I think she gets a little bit of depth as a character as it goes on as a result. Because I think when she left, I didn't realize that he'd have her number to call her, and I almost expected her to text back, wait, did you put your like number in my phone when I wasn't looking for this? Like I almost thought she was going to pull him up for it, and she never actually brought it up, which makes me think, oh, maybe they did exchange numbers, but she just ditched out early to go surf or whatever. Yeah, and obviously it's right after she sends the text when it's like a happy moment where the bag comes over her head. And obviously she saw Jai Courtney like a second before and asked him for like a little key thing for her surfboard.
Fin key?
A fin key, yeah.
I'm not sure what that is, but then I was just like, oh, it's some surfboard thing.
Yeah. But he's doubled back. He left and waved goodbye, but he's doubled back and put a bag over her head and kidnaps her and puts her in the boat next to the girl from the opening, whose name was Heather. And she's clearly going to be like, we're going to see her, like, whatever he does to the women, because he clearly doesn't want the men, because he just killed her boyfriend at the start and got rid of him as quickly as possible. But obviously Heather is here, and it's like, movie, you're trying to make me care about her a little bit because like she's bonding with Zephyr, but I know she's here so that Zephyr can see what's going to happen to her if she doesn't get out of here. So she's the sacrificial lamb for the audience, for the purpose of telling us what's going to happen.
Honestly, I wasn't really. I was like, oh, I didn't realize that this was going to be like a, what do you call it? Like a we're trapped, we need to escape kind of movie. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm interested to see like how is this going to progress, and like how are you not just being thrown to the sharks right away. I was like a little worried at first because like you have like these two women chained to a bed. I was like, all right, is this gonna like venture into like some creepy territory? And it's like, oh no, he just wants to feed them to sharks. I'm assuming that he probably gets like some sexual gratification or something like when he watches the videos later, maybe.
We'll get to that. We'll get to the recording of the event. It never gets sexual in a straightforward way, at the very least, where he never tries to do anything with them, but he comes in and he gives them something to drink and eat, and like obviously they end up getting passed out because immediately Zephyr's like, hey, is that a wire in your bra? I can use that to pick the lock, or not bra, bikini, whatever it is. And she's like, oh sure, yeah, here, and she gives it over to her, and there's a whole bit where she's kind of hiding under the covers when he comes in because she can't reveal it. She's taking her top off and so on and so on, but then the water he's giving them knocks them out, and this is all because he's going to take them outside and put Heather in this harness on the sort of the crane that he's got on the boat and lower into the water while Zephyr watches, and he's got a camera, and it's a really old school camera. It's a really old school VHS camera on a tripod, and we learn that he records this all the time. He always trims a bit of their hair for a trophy, kind of like Dexter with these like little blood slides kind of thing. And he puts that in the spine of the VHS case where he keeps a collection of like everyone he's done this to, and we find out he's been doing this for years. I think Zephyr finds a name in the wall that's from like 1998 or something like that. I'm like, geez, like, what age was he when he started doing this? Like, because he's not that much older than us. Like, he's older, but he's not that much older.
I was starting to get a bit uncomfortable because I was like, all right, this dude loves sharks. He collects physical media. I'm like, is this? All right, he might be hitting a little too close to home for me.
Hey, if he had a leprechaun poster on his bunk, I'd have been very concerned. Very concerned, Tim. But it's a whole thing where he just sort of like puts her above the water. He puts a bunch of chum in the water and then lowers them down. And he's like spouting shark facts as he's doing all this, and he's talking about this being a show and all the rest of it. He's looking through the camera, he's recording it, and he's like, this is the greatest show on earth, isn't it? And he's getting all excited about it. So it's a whole thing, but we see the process, and he does it at night, presumably because it's less likely to be seen by anyone in the distance. Because it's later on he like tries to go somewhere to do it in the daytime because he wants to do it riskily to get it over with. But typically it seems like he does it at night. And even when we see him watching one of the other tapes, it's also at night. So that seems to be his MO.
Makes sense.
I guess it does. I would have, given you're so in tune with them there, Timothy.
That's how I would do it.
Tucker and Tim feeding women to sharks.
I mean, I'm just more for like the collection aspect of it. Like, I don't want to, do any of the nasty stuff, but I do like having, seeing that nice, row of all these videotapes and stuff. Like, ooh, that's pretty cool.
So you just want to, like, maybe when you go to cons, Tim, you could ask the celebrities for like a snip of their hair so you can put them in your cases. I've got a collection of celebrity hair.
I mean, if you see the prices they charge at cons, like for like if a photo is $50, like I can't even imagine what a hair is gonna be,
Can you put a price on your creepy serial killer collection?
That's true. That is true.
I wonder what the weirdest thing like a celebrity's been asked for at a con. Like,
oh jeez, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just imagining like weirdos coming up with like a petri dish and saying, "Can you spit in this for me, please?" And like, I'm going to seal that.
Sure. I mean, I feel like I've heard. I'm sure there's probably like tons of great stories, like celebrities and stuff can tell you, but I've definitely like heard stuff before, like from artists at cons who talk about like the weird, drawings, like people like ask them to do like their personal notebooks, which of course it's always like some weird like fetishy thing with like, all right, I mean if you can pay the $100, like sure, whatever, I'll draw this.
I bet artists didn't realize they'd have to get so good at drawing certain things for these weirdos. Like, oh, I didn't know I could draw. I'm trying to think of something funny that's weird and sexual, but
so I was like, this Disney princess, and you want her to be attacked by tentacles? Okay, yeah. Oh, of course, yeah. They need to be barefoot, and you want me to get really close on the feet? Sure.
Yeah, that's what Tim. On the other side of Tim's wall that you can't see, he's got like his wall of those drawings that he's paid for. Like every time there's a con, he just takes another $100 out of the kids' college funds to go and get his creepy drawings.
Someday these will all be yours.
Why? It's like no. So anyway, while this is going on, Moses is obviously concerned. He sees the van where it's parked. Once they finds the surfboard in the water, he's been looking at her for her over the beach. He goes to the police, but he doesn't even know her last name. The policeman's kind of like, I mean, she sounds like someone who keeps moving around a lot. Is it really that weird? Obviously, he's right to be worried because she literally lives in the van, so why would she not have her van there? But he sees that be towed, and he realizes that he can check this Wave Watch app. So he looks at the time where she was there, sees her van come in, and then sees Tucker leave. Now, Tucker, of course, has a branded truck because he's advertising his business, and that's been set up. He's got that on the side of his boat. He's got advertisings. He looks up this Tucker's Tours or whatever it's called. So he gets a location, so that gets him on the path to come and see where he is. But by the time, of course, Tucker's tried to put Zephyr up right in the thing, because she keeps trying more things to get out. She actually is able to pick the lock. She uses the edge of the bucket she's supposed to use to poop in, because this is before Moses gets there. She is able to pick the lock and get out, and she tries using the radio to call for help. She tries to do whatever, but of course, he eventually gets to her and puts her back in, and gets very upset though, because when he chases her, she picks up the tripod with the camera as a weapon, and he immediately gets like, oh no, because he's very jokey and being like, I'm coming to get ya. He's very much enjoying the chase and cracking little digs at her. But when she picks up that camera, he is like, be careful with that. And she's using, and for anyone who's never used a camera tripod, I want you to know that they're actually very high in the potential list for deadly weapons, because the bottom of a tripod, if you take the feet off, is literally metal spikes. That's what you put the rubber feet onto. So if you're prodding that at someone, you could do some serious damage. It's basically a spear, a triple spear even. But she throws the camera and the tripod in the water, and he's like, no, my camera. And he's all really upset about it. And this is the setup for why he's not on the boat. He pulls into dock, because he has to go and try and find a replacement. Because he can't just buy a normal camera. He has to get a VHS camera, because he's already got all these blank VHS tapes ready, and he's got his labels ready. He wants to do it in VHS. He's some sort of retro nut. He's never switched over to digital. Maybe he thinks this is less traceable because it's not in a computer or online or whatever. I don't know. Maybe that's his logic, or maybe he's just like, no, I started with VHS. I'm going to continue this on VHS. That's my passion. Scan lines, baby.
Yeah. I just like that. It's just part of his ritual or whatever. My kind of take was that like serial killers, he probably has like, you know, some obsessive qualities, and it's just this is the way things have to be. And yeah, like you're saying, I love how he was able to portray that switch from yeah, he's being this kind of like, you know, almost kind of goofy, like joking around guy, and then it's like, okay, she, you know, is able to find the one thing that he cares about, like the one thing, you know, he doesn't joke about is his, you know, media setup. uh, and yeah, that was just like a clever way that I thought, like, oh, like, yeah, they find something that, you know, she can delay. And then, you know, as they're doing the chase and stuff, like, you know, he sticks her with whatever needle he has. So yeah, unfortunately, like, there's not much else she can do before she passes out, and like that's kind of the
Yeah,
one
she
thing
jumps
is,
in the water and tries to swim to like a boat she sees like way in the distance, but like she's passing out, so he just pulls her back in when she stops moving, basically. And that's basically it.
and then again, like you said, I love that, you know, he has to go to this. It kind of looked like a flea market or something, like maybe like some kind of used store. And then again, he has to find like the perfect like old school VHS camera, like because there's plenty of stuff they had there, but yeah, you know, you can't get digital or whatever. So yeah, I thought that was kind of, yeah, funny. And then like watching him like be so flustered as he's trying to like, you know, go and find that, and like people are trying to talk to him and he's just like brushing them off and stuff.
Yeah, there's a moment when he's driving back and he's frustrated by the traffic, and there's a lot of tension here because we know Moses is like finding her and like just getting onto the boat and like so on. So it was this race against time quality to it, but like there's a moment where he's frustrated by the traffic, but then he looks over because he sees a young woman walking past, and she's got kind of like a, you know, like a tie-dye shirt or whatever, and she's got her hair in braids, and it's like, oh, she looks like a bit of a free spirit, maybe she's a loner tourist kind of thing, and he just sort of stares, and then he sees her talk to some people, and it kind of like snaps him out of it. But there's definitely a moment where I thought, oh, is he going to like spend more time away from the boat because he gets too tempted to like try and nab someone else? Yeah. So I like that little moment because it just showed you that he's always tempted by another one. It's like, because even when he got Zephyr, it's not like he was finished with the previous person he kidnapped. He still had her to kill. So it's showing that he's always like looking for his next victim when he's out and about. So I like that a little bit.
Yeah, I wonder too if that's even part of it for him. Like if he needs to have an audience, you know, because when he feeds Heather, you know, he has like Zephyr tied up to the chair and everything. So like, yeah, that might even be like something that he needs, or once, I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, Moses finds the boat and he's just kind of looking around and sort of knocking on doors and whatnot. But then he hears the mumbled like banging and screams, because by this point Zephyr, because she escaped already, has now got like 3 sets of handcuffs on, and she's got her mouth gagged, and she's just trying to make as much noise as she can because she knows the boat's docked. You can tell it's not moving. And he breaks in, he goes down, he finds her, takes the tape off. He can't get her free, of course, because of all the handcuffs, but she's like, hey, you know, thank you so much for coming. She's really relieved, like she's shocked to see him. So it's like a genuine kind of, and it's a good character bit because, like I said, she genuinely didn't think anyone would have been looking for her. So this was like a big rush of emotion for her. And she's like, hey, go and like get something to pick the locks or whatever before he comes back, and definitely phone the police. And I was like, yeah, do that first in case you don't make it. Like have help on the way looking for this stupid boat. And he does actually go to call him. Like he's walking up the stairs and he's calling the number. And he actually gets an answer just as Tucker like dives at him and they, you know, fights him. And there's a bit of a back and forth here as Tucker, you know, beats the shit out of him basically. In fact, he's kind of going to lose. Honestly, we get to a point later on where he's like, you know, he's on top and he's strangling Tucker. Like it looks like Moses is going to win. And this is where the old man who's like living by the docks, who like tries to talk to Tucker a bunch of times, comes in because he just thinks Tucker's been attacked by some stranger. So he hits him over the head and he's like, Tucker, mate, are you all right? And of course, once he's done that, he starts to hear the screams from downstairs and he's like, wait a minute, have you got a Sheila in there? And of course, at this point, Tucker just like, oh, I need to kill him now because he knows too much. So he just like stabs him in the head with this, I don't even know what it was, like some sort of poker or something.
I actually thought this scene was like pretty funny, like in a, you know, dark way.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because I wasn't expecting that guy like to pop up, and then um yeah, it was kind of funny that he's just like instantly like, oh, my friend's getting attacked, so he's going after Moses, and then he just very quickly is dispatched by Tucker. That surprised me, but um yeah, I was happy that yeah, because he had like his little dog too, and I like they just kind of scares the dog away. Like, yeah, I didn't need to kill it or anything.
Oh, I thought for sure that dog was shark food. I really did. I thought
Me
that
too,
dog was
yeah.
going in the water. I really did. No, I think what I like when he stabbed him in the head though, you didn't see the penetration at the top. You just saw the blood run down the guy's forehead until he fell down into frame. And because it was sort of like this sort of L-shaped device that he stabbed him with, when he sort of slumps forward, he's actually held up by the pole of the beam of the stabbing implement. Again, it was some kind of I assume some sort of fishing tool of some kind, like a hook, maybe. Maybe it was just a hook actually. Maybe not that simple, but I feel like there was like I don't know, a slightly different look to it. But regardless,
Right.
I thought it was a good moment. And then of course Zephyr then looks over and wakes up with Moses now also tied up in the other bed that Heather used to be in. So it's like, okay, now he's got both of them. He's kind of pissed now because he feels like, oh, people are getting too close. So he looks for a spot on his map and he's bleeding at this point. He's pissed off. He's like, okay, this spot, Hangman's Bluff or whatever it's called. I'm taking them there and I'm going to kill this asshole. It's like he usually only kills women. He makes that clear. Like I'm going to kill a man with the sharks for a change. That's going to be new for me. But this is where the water's taking me. So he takes them out there. He sets them up just like before. Zephyr's in the strap to the chair and he's like in the harness. And Zephyr, I think again, showing she's quite smart and trying to figure a way out of this is like, hey, he's not a tourist. He lives here. His dad's like a big, real estate mogul. Like, this is not someone unknown going missing. They're going to look for him. Probably heavily, frankly. So, this is going to end badly for you. And obviously, she doesn't know this at the time, but I was also thinking, yeah, I mean, he called you before he came here. So there's actually a trace, there's a record of him looking into who you are that'll lead them here and maybe search the place or whatever. But he doesn't listen to her, obviously. He's like, no, I'm just going to kill him. However, he's very upset. He basically gets cock blocked twice, does Tucker. Once because she yells out to Moses, don't move, stay completely still, and the sharks might leave you alone. So he does that, and the sharks swim away, which pisses him off. And then he pulls him back up in the crane, and at this point Zephyr's like, oh, thank God, we've averted disaster. And I was thinking, yeah, but what's to stop just killing him? You could just walk over and kill him. And he walks over and just stabs him a couple times in the side and says, oh, that ought to get the dinner bell ringing. So basically he just cuts him stabs him a couple times to make it bloody so that the sharks will be attracted to him. But just as he's about to put him back in the water and Moses is in pain, he can barely fight back, a helicopter's in the distance, the Coast Guard or whatever, and immediately Tucker's like, oh, we're going to have a delay here, and he pulls them back in, puts them back in the bunks and all that, and he's like, oh, I have to wait for this chopper to pass by. So because I kept thinking, how are they going to keep stalling this? How are they going to keep getting out of this? I mean, Moses could die. Maybe this will be a final girl only type of thing, but it feels when she's truly on her own, and she kind of is for the last part of the movie. Even though Moses doesn't die, he's so badly injured from the stabbing that he's just lying in pain and passed out on the bed for the rest of the movie at this point. So, it's a whole thing. But they did share a little bit back and forth before where he was like, oh, this rescue didn't go so well. Some hero I turned out to be, and she said, well, no, showing up is heroic enough. Which, again, just following that idea that it means something to her, that someone even bothered to come find her in the first place. So
yeah, this is all good stuff. It's pretty exciting, and then it's helping to strengthen their relationship, and at this point, I'd say the movie's really working for me, and it's you're grown to like the characters, and you're definitely feeling oh, I have no idea how they're gonna get out of this.
Yeah, there's that element to it which really works, and then there's the other stuff with Tucker, which is that by this point, seeing him get frustrated that he's been blocked from killing, and like seeing how quickly he just starts stabbing when he doesn't get his way, it's like, oh, he's starting to feel more dangerous. He's starting to feel more unhinged. So it makes it feel like the threat is even greater than it has been before. So, it's good. And he makes a whole speech to her here when Moses is passed out about how, nah, you're not like him. You're not good for each other because he's like a fluffy, soft person. You're a shark like me. And that's what I was referring to earlier when I said like the only person who agrees with her life like worldview is the serial killer. So it's like, okay, maybe time to readdress or reassess your attitude in life there a bit, Zephyr. But there's a lot of things because I actually wasn't expecting another false call, like a false alarm, because obviously she is able to get out again. Obviously the way she does it is clearly we're getting to the extreme ends here. And I think what I like about this though is that before she makes this extreme choice to like try and free herself, it's motivated not to save herself, it's motivated to save Moses. And this is what I was talking about earlier when I said that she does things sometimes for the other person. She did that a little bit for Heather as well. She tried to help Heather and convince Heather that she was going to be okay. Like she was trying to be a good person with her as well. But it's the moment here in bed where she looks over and sees like Moses barely alive, where she decides that, all right, I'm going to break my thumb to get out of these handcuffs. And then that doesn't work. In fact, the whole conversation with Tucker's when her hand's just been broken, so she's having to pretend she's not in pain the entire time. And then when that doesn't work, and she still can't get her hand out, she makes the ballsy choice to bite off her own thumb.
Oof. Yeah.
Which is kind of badass, I mean, if you're trying to give me a proactive final girl who's like willing to do what it takes to survive, she didn't need Jigsaw to tell her to like bite off her thumb. She just did it.
Yeah.
But which also adds a lot of like vulnerability, because now when she's getting chased after the fact, the entire time she's missing a thumb and she's bleeding out from that wound, and she's trying to like climb up stuff and she's only got one thumb. Like I've never tried climbing without using my thumb, but I can't imagine that it's easier.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be tough.
You can sort of hook your other fingers, I suppose, still, but it's you don't quite get that grip the same way,
Yeah, as long as you have the other thumb on the other hand, you probably make it work. But I mean, obviously, you're dealing with a handicap there.
Yeah. So obviously, she hides behind the door. He comes in. She locks him in, but he's got like a tool with him, so he's able to get out fairly quickly. There's a party boat like nearby. She tries to signal with a flare. However, Tucker basically sneaks up, so she ends up firing the flare at his head. I actually thought the boat was just going to set on fire, and that was going to be how people notice and come over. But that's not quite what happens. There's more of a chase. There's more of a fight back against him. There's a whole sequence here where she kind of like locks herself in the kitchen area and is trying to get out through like a window in the ceiling up to the top deck, and he gets in at the last second and sort of pulls her down so hard that her head like hits off the counter, which I thought looked so violent that I thought she was going to be knocked out. Like I was not expecting her to just get back up. I thought, Jesus, all right, Zephyr, you badass, so fine. And honestly, calling her a badass was really in my head a lot this scene, because immediately she picks up a knife off the counter and a frying pan, and she's like ready to go. She's like, no, I'm going to, like, I've got a shield, and I've got she blocks a knife attack with a thing, she stabs him with the knife. I'm like, she is like fighting. Like, see when you look at a final girl, right? And you're like, what final girls are the ones that are memorable that you like? Typically, I think the ones that are willing to actually fight and are not just running about scared tend to be the ones, right? I mean, obviously, there's some good examples of really scared ones, obviously. But I feel like in modern movies, the ones that I tend to like a lot are the ones that are like, no, I'm going to like actually put up a fight here, like a real fight. Like, I'm not going to cry and just be scared. I'm going to actually try and think practically of how to defend myself. And it fits in with the character because, she's used to looking after herself kind of thing. So that's kind of what they're going for with the whole thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, you always want your characters to be, like, proactive. Like, even if, they're up against, like, really insurmountable odds, or, they're, the person they're fighting is like overpowered or whatever, you still want them to be like capable and putting up a fight. It's it just makes it easier to kind of like follow and root for the character.
I can't remember how she gets away from him again, other than that she does get to like the water again to swim and try and get to. There's a little island with a bunch of lights. There's clearly a party or something somewhere on this island.
Yeah, like she gets like right up to it, like right on the beach, and then he comes. I think he has like a little, I don't know, like speedboat or something that he
a little
chases
dinghy.
around and,
yeah,
and then basically just grabs her like right at the last second.
Well, they set up the harpoon though, because he's going to fire a harpoon at her, but he can't see her in the dark. So then he gets into the boat and like chases after her. But yeah, she gets onto the beach and starts yelling for help, and he's able to just sort of grab her and like cover her mouth like immediately. And it's like, oh, she got so close. She got so close to getting help. And it was kind of like, how is she going to get out of this? Like, once she gets strapped into the harness, which she does, that's what happens next. He takes her back. He puts her in the harness. And she's got a wound in her hand that's constantly bleeding, which is not going to help either. How's she getting out of that? And she tries a couple things, which are a lot of fun to watch. Because the sharks get scared away by the great white who shows up. Jai Courtney starts like poking like with these big kind of stick thing into the water, and she ends up grabbing it, and she sort of hooks it onto the hook of the harness and climbs up it to get out of the water. And I was like, oh, that feels pretty cool. And then Tucker tries to sort of interfere with that, and she ends up falling into the water, but the harness breaks, so she's just completely in the water now. And this is where we get our big moment where the great white's swimming towards her, and she just stays still and tries to close the wound, like hold the wound tight as best she can, and she stays still. And we get this oddly kind of like tranquil, like beautiful moment of the great white shark just swimming past her and sort of looking at her as it goes past. And she's kind of like, I wouldn't say like proud, but like there's kind of like a moment of like, yeah, I am a shark. Like I'm not just the food. Like, I am a shark, and I'm more of a shark than that piece of shit on the boat, because I actually am down here with the shark, and the shark's showing me some respect. I'm not saying it's literally that, but that's kind of the feeling you get of this. Is like, oh no, she's proven that she is a fighter. She's proven that she can swim in the deep waters, which is why it is all the more satisfying when she gets back onto the boat and harpoons. She stares him down for a second, and then she harpoons him into the water. He falls off the side of the boat, and of course we get that big glorious shot of Jai Courtney getting eaten by the shark. The shark kind of jumps out of the water with him in its mouth. If I have one critique, is that I do think the CG on his body, like Jai Courtney himself in the shark's mouth, did look a little bit like weird. Like there was, it almost looked like, and this is going to sound weird because I don't think it's like, I'm pretty sure the shark's just CG here, right? And the shark looks fine. The shark looks solid. I
would imagine.
Right?
Yeah.
But because he's so still until he sort of like reaches out his hand towards the end of the shot, it kind of looked like if they did this effect back in the day with a real shark, they'd have had like a dummy. He almost looked like a dummy in the mouth until he eventually moved towards the end. Maybe it was just a slow motion, because it's all in slow motion, this shot. But it kind of had like a fake look to him, but in a really old school way. And I don't know if it's just like it's I don't know, it's just like a weird effect of how they did it, I guess, where he looks kind of like a dummy until towards the end of the shot.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd probably have to go back and rewatch it, because it's not leaping out to me. Maybe I was like too focused on the shark itself. Or
I guess.
But, I was impressed. Like I did think the shark looks pretty decent, which I feel like a lot of times with these shark movies, the CG is not always the best, and they kind of takes you right out of it. But I was pretty impressed with this. I thought it looked good. Yeah,
so obviously it's quite cathartic seeing him get eaten by his own shark, his own god. He referred to the gods are down below, they're not up there. I think one of the little details I liked about the shark actually is you can see it when it's swimming past Zephyr, is that it has a big scar on its side, which makes it seem like, we don't know if that's necessarily Tucker who's done that, but this idea that the shark's also just kind of innocent and has been a victim of assholes. I don't know, there was kind of like almost a kindred spirit thing where she's lost a thumb and the shark's got this big scar going down its side. I don't know.
It's like they've both been through some shit.
Yeah, so there's like a respect almost here.
Yeah.
Even though Tucker's the one who says that he's worshipping the sharks and all that. No, I like that. So yeah, obviously she gets back up onto the boat. She does a second flare. She fires that off. The party boat starts to turn around to come back over to them. And the movie kind of ends with her waking up Moses, and she says that, hey, that, you know, I do have one thing in land that I want to come back to, and that's you. And then, because he's kind of like dying, but he opens his eyes almost as if he was pretending a little bit, and he's like, oh, I knew it. And the movie kind of ends there. No, I mean, it's you know, I think it made me care enough about the characters. It kept making me think, how is she going to get out of this? And then I wasn't, for the most part, I was never rolling my eyes at how she gets out of things. Like, I feel like the biting off the thumb thing was such a nuclear option. It was kind of like, okay, that did a good job of elevating the stakes, because one, she's doing it for the other person because she wants to save him, but two, it's also like, okay, this is now do or die. This is now that she's done this, either she's going to win because it's a last ditch effort, or she isn't. So it made it feel like, oh, we're getting to the end of the movie in a good way. You know, it felt like that escalation to go into that final chunk, you know?
Yeah, the escalation was all really good. Yeah, the whole movie is pretty exciting, but especially this last 15 or 20 minutes, they just do a really good job of, you know, constantly ramping things up and, you know, making you think like, oh, how are they gonna, you know, like, yeah, how is she gonna get out of this or whatever. One thing I maybe like wasn't, I mean, again, it's like a small thing, but like when she, you know, like fires the little, not the little, like she fires a harpoon gun or whatever, and he, you know, gets taken out. I forget if this is before or after, you know, he's eaten by the shark, but they have that one little moment where she also gets dragged out.
Oh, I forgot, but you're right. I forgot about this, because I also did kind of feel like this was a little bit, I don't know, I didn't need this last bit.
Unnecessary. Yeah.
It does that thing where
like she's already triumphant. You know, so it's like
the harpoon's got like a line attached to it, right? So because the shark drags him away, the line's getting dragged with it, and it does that thing that happens in movies where it's like around her foot and like pulls her in. And it doesn't really matter all that much, because ultimately it's just kind of like, you know, once the body's not in the shark's mouth anymore, it just kind of goes loose and she's able to kind of swim back. I don't know, it never ended up being that much of a big deal. All in just one last little, she's in danger again kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just like a weird, like, I don't know, it just kind of killed the momentum for me for a little bit, because, yeah, it just ultimately felt so unnecessary. It's like, oh, I guess we're trying to add on like one last tiny jump scare or obstacle or whatever, but it's just kind of like,
yeah, I think the problem is that because we already kind of established in the language of the movie that the shark's not the enemy, it felt weird to then threaten that the shark might still like cause her death at the end.
Right, yeah.
You know, we're already past that as an audience, I think. We've already established the sharks are neutral, if not good guys, and it's only Tucker that's the bad guy.
I mean, aside from that, though, I really liked everything about the ending. Like, like you're saying, I like the, you know, falling in the water and just seeing this massive shark and just having that kind of acknowledging, you know, between the two, and then obviously, you know, seeing Tucker get eaten feels very cathartic, and it's like, oh yeah, this had to be how it ended, you know. Like it would have been satisfying unless he ends up, you know, getting eaten by the sharks as well. And then at that point I'd cared enough about the characters that I was you know, pretty happy when Moses like opens his eyes and it's like, oh nice, like they're, you know, he's live, and you know, presumably they could be together. You know, so it's like it I don't know, left me feeling good.
Helps on the way. And let's not gloss over as well, because it was around the same time we see him like put his like hair in the VHS tape and all that, and like his process. But we do see Jai Courtney dancing around in his underwear, wearing like a bathrobe, like an idiot.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. I don't really have much to say about it, but I feel like it's the sort of scene that people are going to remember just because the wild sort of visuals and how kind of like quirky he's being, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, he's you know, he's pretty good in this. I, you know, can't really like complain about him. I like that, like, you know, sometimes with a serial killer movie, you know, there's almost this like otherworldliness about them, like, you know, something like, I guess, like Hannibal Lecter or something, where it feels like, all right, they're human, but like they're so like sinister or whatever. It almost feels like, you know, that they're almost not human or whatever. Like this, I like that. Oh yeah, he still feels like a guy. It's just he's like a very douchey guy. You know what I mean? Like he, yeah, like he's obsessed with sharks. It's obviously a very dangerous and stuff, but then also like, oh yeah, I can picture him as this guy getting drunk and dancing around in his underwear, and he has this kind of like alpha male, you know, I'm the king shark bro, you know, kind of energy about him, which I thought, you know, fits the character and made it entertaining.
Yeah, no, I think this idea that he thinks he's the big shark in the ocean, but he's really not, and Zephyr turns out to be a better shark than he is kind of a nice like sort of comeuppance for him, which is cool. So yeah, he's kind of a loser, and it's kind of satisfying seeing him go down. And I think it works in this because sometimes that wouldn't work. Like I think it would be shit and say, oh, if Michael Myers was just a loser, but he'd lose a lot of his mystique. It wouldn't work for him, but it works here for this character because he thinks he's like a bigger deal than he is, and it's like, no, he's humbled by the fact that the sharks, you know, don't respect him any more than anyone else, kind of thing. So
yeah,
and it works. All right, well, I guess it's time to rate the movie, Tim. What you got for Dangerous Animals?
I was kind of debating between like a 7 and a 7.5. Again, I think it's a solid. It's good. I had a lot of fun with it. I do think it is, you know, just like a little bit shy of, you know, being great, but I do think it's good. It's fun. You know, performances are good. Again, the premise I just think is really solid, and I mean, I feel like so many times, you know, we talk about like a movie where it's like, man, this was a really good idea, but they just kind of blew it, or they didn't go far enough with it, and the movie's definitely not perfect. Like maybe there could be like a better version, but like I think this is one where you hear about a really good premise and they actually deliver on it, and it's it's good. So I think I'll give it a 7.5, just kind of shy of like being great, but yeah, it was fun. I had a good time with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right in the same area, really. I think it's a good movie. I think it's a solid movie. I think it's a fun watch. Any complaints I have are pretty minor. You know, I think I don't even know, a couple more kills, maybe you know, something that just elevates it a little bit more. But it's a good movie. I had a good time with it, and I'd recommend it. So I will say, I will just go with a 7. But it's, you know, it's a very enthusiastic 7. Like I liked it. It's a good movie. So yeah, there you go. That's Dangerous Animals. Now, if all goes to plan, next episode should be Keeper, the new Osgood Perkins movie, the third movie from him in the under like 14 months that we've reviewed, which is insane. But yeah, that should be what we do next time. Obviously, if things change because of theatre schedules or whatever, then obviously things might shake up. But that is at least the plan for next time on the show. And then we've got a couple of sequels planned after that before we get to Christmas stuff. And then obviously we'll have catch-up stuff next sort of year, the start of the year, as we usually do, going back and doing whatever 2025 movies we feel we need to do before we can even dare thinking about doing our top 10. But that is the plan for the next little while. So yeah,
it'll be a lot less you know, this year or next year, because yeah, like this year we spent like half the year catching up.
Yeah, last year we didn't do our top 10 until like July, I think. I feel like this time we'll probably do it in like March. You know, something a bit more respectable. That said, though, if enough new 2025 releases come out in the first few months, it might delay us a little bit. But you know, that's another.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess we'll see. I feel like we hit so many of, you know, the big major ones from 2025. I feel like we don't have that much to catch up on. I mean, yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah. Don't worry, I've got a list. But anywho, that is the show. You can of course support everything over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV or via YouTube membership. Get access to bonus episodes. I think we're at 62 of those now. The last one we did was The Dentist, which was kind of a hoot of a movie to talk about. So If that sounds fun, you can get that either of those ways. You can also get even more stream segments. Sometimes they're like top fives, or they're more maybe meaty. Like we're going to be doing one soon where we talk about all the horror movies we watched in October that weren't for the show. Although the one we put out this week is actually just a random conversation about Terminator and some other things, because Jai Courtney came up and that just became the even more stream segment. So, it's just more of us talking about silly shit that's horror related, and that's pretty much it. But thanks to everyone who already supports us. Of course, there's bonuses for all the other shows that we do in Mail Fuzz Movies as well. Check out those shows as well, the Collector's Cut and the Atomic Cinema Experiment, if you're interested in more of me talking about movies. Tim's not on those ones, but David's there, and he's a decent replacement for Tim.
I mean, who can compare?
So yeah, that is that. So thanks to everyone who supports us, and obviously it's a big help if you go and do that. But that is the show. Otherwise, so we'll see you next time. Keep watching scary movies. Goodbye for now. Crikey, Vegemite, kangaroo.